Hi everybody, and welcome back to my kitchen. In today's video, we're going to make something delicious with peaches. Now, I've talked about shrubs on this channel quite a bit. I even have some recipes on my blog. I'll make sure I link them all below. So shrubs are also known as drinking vinegars. And this is an old-timey method for preserving fruit before they had canning. Now, they've kind of become popular again in the world of mixology. So you can mix them with adult beverages if you want. You can just enjoy them in flat water or spring water, or you can enjoy them with something like club soda or tonic water. They're really very versatile, but they're kind of this amazing mix of like sweet and tangy because of the vinegar. And of course, they've got a really great shelf life. Now on this channel, I know for sure I've done a rose ginger strawberry shrub before. I've done rhubarb lemon balm, and I've done blueberry lavender, so I'll make sure I'll post them below. Now traditionally shrubs were made with just fruit, but of course being a herbalist, I like to add a herbal twist to my drinking vinegars. So it is peach season here in Southern Ontario. Now I wish I could say these were the best peaches. They are not. There's a reason why I'm turning them into a shrub. And this is the problem I've noticed in the last couple of years. So let me know in the comments below. It's hit and miss whether or not we're gonna get good quality. Now the flavor is here with these. They've got a pretty decent flavor, but they're really mealy. And so in terms of texture, they're not great for eating. And I don't know, I'm lazy. I really don't want to turn them into a jam or anything. And we don't need any more peaches and syrup or peach salsa. So that's when I kind of came up with the idea. And I'm pretty sure I'd seen peach shrub recipes on Pinterest, scrolling through. And I was like, what if I combine the magic of peaches and basil? So that's what I'm going to be doing today. So for this recipe, now I'm only going to be filming part of it because you do need a bit of time in order to make this recipe. But for this recipe, you're going to need about 1 pound of peaches. You're going to need, I think it's about 10 or so basil leaves, but I'll double check. I may add a bit more. You're going to need up to 1 cup of your sweetener of choice, and then you're going to need a vinegar of your choosing as well. So if you have ever made homemade jam before, see now these are not, they're okay. See, but you can tell this, I've noticed this too, this interesting coloring in peaches when they're really mealy. So mealy, I'm referring to the texture, but again, the flavor is there. So I still think this is going to make a decent shrub. Please know that you can use good peaches for this as well. I want you to work with what you have. Now, your first step, if you've ever made a homemade jam before, you know this step. You want to slice your fruit. So I'm going to go for about 1-inch chunks. And then you're going to want to macerate or kind of soak your fruit in your sweetener of choice. So you can use organic cane sugar if you want. I'm going to be using honey today. So if you're using cane sugar, you can use up to 1 cup of sugar because honey is a little bit sweeter. I'm probably going to use closer to 3/4 of a cup. So I'm going to get to chopping these. I'm going to leave the skin on. And once I have that process done, I'll show you how I mix with the sugar and explain the other steps that I'll be doing tomorrow. All right, I've got it's actually, for me, I did a little bit more than 1 pound of peaches, all chopped, and I'm just scraping them into my measuring cup here. Now, I kind of want to talk a little bit about the idea of not always using herbs just for medicine. When I'm choosing herbs in my shrubs, I'm choosing it not because of medicinal properties, but there are always some medicinal properties, but because of flavor. So if you don't like basil, then don't use basil. This would probably also be really delicious with something like ginger. And so I encourage you at this point to play with fruit and herb flavor combinations that you think sound delicious. Peaches and vanilla would also be really, really nice. I want you to think about the flavor of the fruit and what would really complement bringing in those kind of more, you could do floral notes. So there's a lot you could do here. And so this is us thinking more culinary and less medicinal. So I've got my peaches in here. I chose to go with this measuring cup because it comes with a lid. How magic is that? And I'm just gonna pour my honey. So like I said, I'm using just a little bit less than 1 cup of honey. And what you wanna do is kind of mix this all around And then what the sweetener will do is it will start to pull the natural sugars out of your fruit. So honey will do this, so will any cane sugar that you use. I've never used something like brown sugar or coconut sugar. I'm going with something with a little bit more of a neutral-ish flavor that I think is really going to complement the peaches. I've canned peaches in a honey syrup before. It's delicious. Something like brown sugar with that high molasses content could kind of overpower our flavor here. So you'll notice that I'm also going to use kind of a milder vinegar. I'm going to actually do half rice vinegar and then half raw apple cider. So I still have the health benefits of the raw apple cider. So it's about 2:30 in the afternoon here. So I'm actually going to leave this at room temperature and keep my eyes on it. And then overnight, I'll pop the lid on it and stick it in the fridge to make sure it doesn't grow anything funky. And I'll meet you back here in my kitchen tomorrow morning. So my peach and honey mixture has been sitting in my fridge for almost 2 days now, which is fine, by the way, if you need it to sit for a couple of days. I just got busy and admittedly kind of forgot about it. But what I did do is I made sure I stirred it and everything, like it just looks fabulous. So I'm outside right now in my herb spiral. If you don't know what a herb spiral is, I will link that in the description below because I mean, why wouldn't you want one of these? It's absolutely gorgeous. And I've got some really awesome looking purple basil. And I've decided that purple and peaches absolutely must go together. So I'm going to be harvesting some of these leaves. You can add anywhere from, I'd say from 10 to 20 basil leaves if you followed my exact recipe. So this is going to be very much to taste and kind of how strong of a basil flavor do you want? So I think I'm going to go right in the middle and pick about 15 leaves and meet you in the kitchen. We're back in the kitchen. I have my basil. I have my peaches that have been hanging out and macerating in honey. And as you can see, they are quite liquefied at this point, and the honey has done exactly what I wanted, which was pull out all those beautiful sugars. I have a large mason jar, and I've got 2 types of vinegar. Now this is completely up to you. This is very much to taste. But I want you to think about the more delicate floral notes that peach has, and you might not want to use like a really strong vinegar like a balsamic. I'm going to be using half rice vinegar, so half a cup of rice vinegar and half a cup of raw apple cider vinegar because I want the health benefits, but white vinegar would work too. So it's really just what flavors do you think? I want you to think a milder, so like a white wine vinegar would also be really nice with this. So what I'm going to do first, and I'm kind of winging this, so you guys are learning along with me, is I'm actually going to try to pour out some of the liquid from this first. Some of the peaches will pass, that's okay. Or a lot of the peaches. All right, good. Because I have a plan. I have a plan, friends, of how I kind of want this to go. And now I'm just going to take my basil and I'm just going to very roughly chop it. You don't have to go super small with your pieces. So this was something I think I saw either on YouTube or somewhere where the best way to cut your basil without bruising it is to actually roll it. So I've been doing this for years and I'm just going to cut it this way. But you do you, right? And I'm just going to toss it right in with the peaches and chop up the rest of this. And then I'm going to use my handy dandy muddler, which as you can see has been used for aronia berries and elderberries for many years. It's now permanently stained. And I'm going to kind of mush the basil in with the peaches to kind of get those flavors to marry. And then I'll dump everything in the jar. So when I'm ready to do that, I'll see you right back here. So I mean, this step isn't necessary, but I just feel like it's going to help those flavors marry. And yes, you can use regular basil. I just wanted to do the purple because honestly, I picked it for color purposes more than anything. So I'm just kind of mashing up the peaches and kind of marrying it with those basil leaves and making sure those flavors have lots of time to hang out together. I don't want to miss any. I also went a little lighter. I went with about 15 basil leaves. Delicious, because again, this is the first time I'm making this. I've made many shrubs before and I have used basil and peach together as a flavor combination, but I wasn't sure how strong the basil flavor would be. And this will be an experiment, right? So maybe you might want to start with 10 and then the next time you make this, you can add 15 or 20. It's really personal preference. From here, I'm gonna scoop everything into my wide mouth mason jar. And if my calculations are correct, there should be enough room for a total of 1 cup of vinegar to add to this. And it looks like it, yes. I'll probably just fill it up all the way with vinegar. If you've been following me long enough, you know I'm a bit of an ish practitioner when it comes to these kinds of measurements. Already, I mean, golly, this looks fabulous. So I'm gonna start with my rice vinegar, and I'm gonna do about a 1/2 cup. Again, I'm going with vinegars that have kind of like a milder flavor. And then I'm just gonna top up, and I can tell you right now it's gonna be about a 1/2 cup. I'm just gonna top up with my raw apple cider vinegar. From here, you want your shrub to sit for a minimum, I would say, of 7 days. I usually keep them at room temperature, but if that makes you uncomfortable, put them in the fridge. It just might take a little longer for all of those beautiful flavors to marry. Now, if you're like me and you've got a metal lid today with a label that says potato leek soup on it, it is clean. You're gonna want a piece of parchment paper because the vinegar in this is gonna corrode that lid. So I just place the parchment paper on top and then screw it on. If you have a plastic lid, you can skip this part. Now, give it a really good shake. And like I said, you're gonna want this to sit for at least 7 days. I've allowed my shrubs to sit for months and months and months until I'm actually ready to strain them and use them. But minimum 7 days to make sure all those flavors really marry. I'm gonna keep it at room temperature, but because the vinegar, right, and the honey both act as a preservative, I'm not worried. But if you're more comfortable keeping it in the fridge, then you should do so. Okay, so this is not the peach shrub, that one's right here, and I just made it. But what this is the strawberry rose ginger shrub that I made last year. And I want to open up the lid and show you, it is perfectly fine. It's been sitting, as you can see, it still has all the strawberries and the rose petals in it. And oh gosh, I screwed that lid really tight, but check it out. It's fine. There's no mold, no nothing. And it smells so good. So when you're ready to strain out your peach basil one, you're gonna do just this. I have a fine mesh strainer, my large measuring cup, and I'm just gonna pour all of the deliciousness through. Now, waste not, want not, friends. You can just wait for it to stop dripping, or you would, once again, this is gonna have a bit of a peach flavor, but I don't mind, the back of your, like a muddler or something, to help encourage as much of those juices out as possible. And what you have left is your delicious herbal inspired drinking vinegar. Now, how do you enjoy this? One of our favorite ways is to add it to either club soda. We have a soda stream, so fizzy water of some kind, tonic water, really delicious. Start with about a tablespoon to a full glass, because you can always add more, but you can't take it away. Some people like drinking these straight and just have like little shots of them. You can also add it to flat water. It's really enjoyable that way as well. Well, there you have it, folks. We just made a peach basil shrub. Not only are shrubs nutritious and full of lots of vitamins and minerals, and they help to keep you hydrated, they're really delicious and a super awesome way to get to know herbs, like culinary herbs, but as well as medicinal, and start experimenting with fruits and vinegars and sweeteners and different flavor profiles so that you can start to take the worry out of incorporating herbs into your life and start making some awesome stuff in the kitchen. Now, if you've got any questions about this process, you know what to do. Leave those below. If you haven't grabbed a copy of my newest ebook that's designed for exactly where you are, wanting to incorporate herbal medicine but not sure where to start, I'll also include a link of that in the description. So thanks so much for joining me, and until next time, this is Correne from Spiraea Herbs, wishing you health and wellness.